The moment my supervisor smiled before speaking, I knew something was terribly wrong, because that same smile had appeared every year before another excuse was handed to me instead of the recognition I had earned. I walked into that meeting believing my years of loyalty finally mattered, but I walked out realizing that some people will gladly build their success on your talent while convincing you that you should feel thankful for receiving nothing in return. My name is Avery Brooks, and until recently I worked as a senior systems engineer for Summit Dynamics, a large technology company outside Denver that designed advanced manufacturing equipment for hospitals, research laboratories, and aerospace facilities across the country. Although my official title sounded ordinary, my daily responsibilities stretched far beyond what my job description listed, because I solved technical crises, trained new engineers, improved production systems, and quietly rescued projects that would have otherwise failed. Ever since I was a child, I had been fascinated by figuring out how complicated things worked, and while other kids spent weekends playing outside, I happily filled my bedroom floor with broken radios, clocks, and old kitchen appliances that I patiently rebuilt into working machines. My parents often joked that nothing in our house stayed untouched for long, but they also knew my curiosity was turning into a talent that eventually earned me scholarships, engineering awards, and a career I believed would reward hard work and dedication. When Summit Dynamics hired me straight out of college, I truly believed I had found a company where effort would be recognized, because every manager promised that exceptional performance would lead to exciting opportunities, meaningful promotions, and competitive pay as the business expanded. During my first few years, I happily stayed late, volunteered for difficult assignments, and accepted every challenge placed in front of me because I trusted that my commitment was building a future instead of simply making someone else richer. Everything changed when I created a completely new equipment optimization process that dramatically improved the accuracy of our production systems while reducing inspection time almost by half, allowing factories to complete orders faster without sacrificing quality or safety. Customers immediately noticed the improvement. New contracts poured into the company from clients who had previously chosen competitors, and executives proudly celebrated the breakthrough during company meetings, without mentioning that a single engineer working alone had developed the entire solution from beginning to end. After that success, I convinced myself that recognition would eventually arrive if I simply remained patient, so I documented every improvement, trained new employees on the system I had created, and answered emergency calls at every hour whenever an important client faced technical trouble. Instead of receiving promotions or meaningful raises, I watched senior executives proudly present my work to investors as proof of the company's remarkable innovation, while my name quietly disappeared behind polished presentations and carefully rehearsed speeches. As the business expanded into several international markets, unexpected technical problems threatened to delay millions of dollars worth of contracts, because our equipment failed to satisfy strict overseas certification requirements that nobody had properly prepared for. My department director gathered everyone into an emergency meeting and warned that failure was not an option, so I canceled family plans, spent countless evenings inside the laboratory, and completely redesigned our testing procedures until every machine exceeded the required standards. The project became one of the greatest achievements in company history, because customers overseas praised the outstanding quality of our equipment. New distribution agreements were signed within weeks, and executives celebrated with expensive parties that I never attended because I was still helping foreign technicians successfully install our systems. While photographs of smiling leadership teams filled the company newsletter, I remained inside my office answering late-night video calls, believing that sacrifice today would surely lead to appreciation tomorrow. Years quietly passed, and every annual performance review sounded almost identical because managers praised my dedication, described me as one of the most valuable technical employees in the organization, and repeatedly insisted that the company depended on my expertise more than I realized. The compliments always ended with another explanation about limited budgets, changing financial priorities, or future opportunities, leaving my salary frozen, while newly hired engineers with far less experience often earned significantly more than I did from their very first day. Eventually, I stopped expecting fairness from people who had grown comfortable benefiting from my loyalty. So instead of arguing with management again, I quietly updated my professional portfolio and began exploring opportunities where talent was measured by results rather than empty promises. Within only a few weeks, my inbox filled with interview invitations from respected organizations across the country, and for the first time in many years, I felt a quiet sense of hope that perhaps my future existed somewhere beyond the walls of Summit Dynamics. Even with that incredible offer, I wanted to give Summit Dynamics one final chance, so I gathered detailed records of my achievements, industry salary research, and measurable results that proved my work had generated enormous value for the company. During my annual review, the executives barely looked at the documents before telling me I should simply appreciate having a stable job, and in that heartbreaking moment I understood that they never intended to reward loyalty no matter how hard I worked. The next morning I accepted the leadership position at Horizon Standards Council and submitted a respectful resignation letter, then spent the following days documenting every important process so my coworkers would not struggle after I left. 2 days later, the executives suddenly rushed to stop me with promises of promotions, leadership titles, and a huge salary increase, but I politely declined because genuine respect should come before a resignation letter instead of after one. My first months at Horizon Standards Council were everything I had hoped for, because my experience helped modernize engineering standards that improved quality, safety, and accountability throughout the entire industry without unfairly targeting any company. Ironically, Summit Dynamics later struggled to meet those higher standards because they had ignored the very improvements I had recommended for years, teaching every leader that talented people should never be taken for granted because replacing dedication is always far more expensive than appreciating it in the first place. Looking back, I no longer remember the meeting where I was laughed at as my greatest failure, because it became the first step toward the career I was truly meant to have, proving that rejection sometimes pushes us toward opportunities we would never have discovered on our own. Never allow someone else to decide your worth, because the right people will recognize your value without needing to be convinced, and sometimes walking away is the bravest decision that changes your entire life for the better. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.